You are still on to Jokchem.Edutech, where you get better understanding of chemistry. You see, we have today we have to do salt analysis for 2026 chemistry practical that we think we need to prepare you for. You know, you have to be prepared for 2026 Waec chemistry practical. So today we shall be taking you through salt analysis, which is qualitative analysis. Qualitative analysis deals with what is present. You have to identify unknown substance being given to you, unknown sample. But basically we do salt test. So we want to prepare you for what may likely, what you need to prepare for chemistry practical 2026 Waec exam. So you need to just follow up. Basically, on salt analysis, we test for cations, we test for anions. All salts are made up of cations and anions. So we have soluble salts, we have insoluble salts. So today we shall be using insoluble salts to be precise, because we can't do everything. If you want to test for cations in chemistry, you use two reagents. They are ammonia solution and sodium hydroxide solution. Those are the two main reagents used to test for cations in chemistry. Now, we have drafted a procedure that you should follow at least to prepare you for Waec this year. It's not for only this year, it can be used for subsequent years. Just idea of how to test for cations and anions you need to know. Now, what we prepared for, look at it. We have C is a mixture of an inorganic and organic substances. Carry out the following exercises on C. Record your observations and identify any gas or gases given off. Write your inferences. You see, the first one says A. Put all of C in a beaker and add about 10 cm³ of distilled water. Stir the mixture very well and filter. Meaning we are dealing with insoluble substance and soluble substance. That's what we want to take the two together to prepare you for what may likely to come, at least what you should prepare for. Now, we have when you filter a particular substance using your filtration apparatus, you will have filtrate and you have the residue. Now, keep both the residue and the filtrate. Having obtained that, you should put the residue in a test tube and add about 2 cm³ of dilute tetrasulfate 6 acid. Shake the mixture, warm, and divide it, the mixture, into 3 portions. So to the first portion, add sodium hydroxide solution in drops. Like I told you, it's cation we want to identify now. You use sodium hydroxide and solution and ammonia solution. Those are the two reagents we use to identify cations in salt analysis. You add sodium hydroxide solution in drops, then in excess. You see, to the second portion, you add ammonia solution in drops, then in excess. To the third portion, add barium chloride solution in drops and dilute hydrochloric acid in excess. Then B. Take about 2 cm³ of the filtrate in the boiling tube, boil and test with iodine. That is the question that we have prepared for you for this afternoon. Now we will be testing white salts. White salts are basically zinc salt, lead salt, aluminium salt, and calcium salt. So look at how I want to test it, the test, the observation, and the inference. Now, just look at what I've just now, just look at what I said. The A, you will label it the way they have written the question for you. You will label it Don't forget, this is qualitative analysis, which deals with what is present, what you need to find out. You don't calculate in qualitative analysis, you just observe things, you just record your conclusion, you record your inference and observe the gas or gases given off. So we have the A question now. He said we should put all of C in a beaker, you see. C, which is mixture of inorganic and organic substance, we put it plus 10 cm cube of distilled water. You see? So I told you we will use insoluble salt. You say insoluble, insoluble. Alright? So insoluble salt, in your inference, since you are filtering it, you know you will have filtrate, you have residue. So in your inference, it means soluble and insoluble salts present. Soluble and insoluble substance, soluble substance or salt present. Present. See? You have finished this place now. You have added water. Then you have now you have your filtrate, you have your residue. Now put the residue in test tube and add about 2 cm cube of dilute tetrasulfate acid. You see, residue, the residue plus 2 cm cube dilute H2SO4. H2SO4 is tetrasulfate acid. So what happened? You see, effervescence, a gas given off, a gas given off is given off colorless. You can say, you can still identify the gas. You see, a colorless, odorless gas giving us odorless gas giving us gas is giving off. If you have a colorless gas giving off, you'll be thinking of whatever you are being given. Assuming you were given since it's insoluble salt, you may be given lime water, for instance. You see, let's say we are giving lime water now. We say which turns lime water milky. Lime water milky. Of course, you should know that this type of chemical test is for CO2. Okay, it turns lime water milky. So this one means CO2 from CO2 gas, see, from CO3 salt is present. CO2 gas from CO3 ions is present. That is when you have warmed it and you have mixed it with 2 cm cube of dilute tetrasulfate acid. Now, so as I said, we have effervescence, which means a gas is giving off. So a colorless, odorless gas is giving off, which turns lime water milky. Of course, you have to know that that gas is CO2 from CO3 ions. Now, the question says you should divide the mixture into 3 portions. So the first portion now of that your mixture, the one you have added H2SO4, you should add sodium hydroxide in drops, then in excess, sodium hydroxide solution in drops, then in excess. Now to the first portion now, you have one, A Roman number 1, you have to the first portion. The first portion, just say the first portion of the residue, the mixture of the mixture plus NaOH. Aqueous is the same thing as sodium hydroxide solution, aqueous sodium hydroxide in drops, So we are dealing with white salts. White salts, I have told you, there are 4, majorly 4 that we used to examine at Waec level: calcium salt, zinc salt, lead salt, and aluminium salt. Now, if you have this one, first portion of the mixture plus NaOH, aqueous in drops, you have white precipitate for those ones, since I said we are dealing with white salts. So we have white precipitate. Then what are those salts that are likely to be present? So we have Ca2 plus. See, we have Pb2 plus, and we have Al2 3 plus, or Ca2 plus, Pb2 plus. You have to cut here because I can't write. Sorry. So if you have white precipitate salts, they are Ca2 plus, as I mentioned. You have Pb2 plus, Al3 plus, or Zn2 plus that is present. Now the question says what we have drafted for you says then in excess now plus excess NaOH plus excess NaOH aqueous solution. So this one now, if the precipitate is soluble, see, white precipitate, if it is soluble, it is zinc salt. If the precipitate is zinc salt, Pb2 plus or Al3 plus. If it is insoluble, that means it's calcium salt. The one we are dealing with now, I've told you that we want to deal with either zinc, Pb2 plus or Al3 plus. To be specific, we want to deal with the one that has lead-2 salt. Now, white precipitate is insoluble. It's soluble. White precipitate is soluble. Remember, if it is insoluble, it is calcium salt. So, meaning any of these three salts now is available. One of them is available. So, we have Zn2 plus, Pb2 plus, or Al3 plus is present. Okay? So, the further analysis of the salt now, we have for the further analysis of the salt, anytime I come down, you will now know what to do. The further analysis of the salt it goes like this. You now add ammonia solution now to the second portion now, portion of the mixture plus what? Ammonia solution of the mixture plus ammonia solution. You see, aqueous ammonia. The first one in drops. So let's see in drops. Look at the way we are carrying the salt together. If it is soluble now, we have zinc salt. Of course, all of them will give you. I will take this place again. We are cutting. My leg is shaking. So now, what we are left with now is to add aqueous ammonia solution to the second portion of the mixture. So by the time you add aqueous ammonia solution in drops to the sample or the substance given to you to that mixture, then you have white precipitate. Since it's in drop, it's still white precipitate that will give you precipitate. Okay, so with this white precipitate now, these three salts now they are present. You see say Zn2 plus, Pb2 plus, see comma or Al3 plus is present. At this junction now, you have to add excess. You have to add excess solution as the drafted question says. So by the time you now say plus excess aqueous ammonia, see? So if the precipitate is soluble, it is zinc plus. If it is not soluble, we have Pb2 plus or Al3 plus. So we are saying insoluble precipitate. Precipitate is not soluble. It remains the same. Insoluble precipitate. So what will now be present will now be Pb2 plus. You can see the way we are dropping them. Pb2 plus or Al3 3 plus is present. There is something you have to take note here. It's not all the salts that are present, it's just one that is present. You can see that I'm putting a or, it's not and. You demarcate it, put your comma where it's supposed to be, then you make sure that it is or, it is not and. Otherwise, you will lose mark. For you to earn mark, everything must be recorded appropriately. As you are doing the test, you are writing your observation, you are putting your inference at the time you are doing your experiment. So each time, make sure everything is proportional. See, it's really attending to the test you have carried out. Now, we have done the ammonia solution. Now, the third portion now, you see, plus excess now, you have Pb or Al3 plus. We want to be specific here. We want to now test for lead-2 ion. For lead-2 ion, you will have chalky precipitate or powdery precipitate. Then if it is aluminium ion, you have gelatinous precipitate. So we want to identify lead-2 ion. Of course, we are going to have a chalky precipitate. So insoluble precipitate, you have to let them know that it's a chalky precipitate observed. You know it is not soluble, observed. At this junction now, we have a confirmed Pb2 plus. You see, 2P plus is confirmed. It's confirmed. There is no more here. You can see the way we carry the four salts together. We have calcium, lead-2, aluminium, and zinc. So if we have insoluble precipitate, after adding the excess ammonia solution, then you have confirmed lead-2 ion, unless it is gelatinous, which we are not interested in at doing today. Only the lead-2 we want to confirm as a cation first. But if other ones you think you need to know them, I've explained everything. Now, the next thing we are going to do now is to go to the third portion of our mixture that we have obtained before. Now, to the third portion, highlight your. Don't forget to number everything accordingly as it's written in your question paper. A neat work will attract more mark. You will have more mark when you write it as you are writing your observation and your inference accordingly. Don't mix things up to get good mark. So we have so the third portion, you now say third portion of the mixture that we have been using all along, plus barium chloride. Barium chloride. You will just add little drops of barium chloride solution. If you now observe white precipitate, don't forget it is white substance we are dealing with. So you have white precipitate observed. See, precipitate observed. Precipitate. See. For white precipitate, this one has to do with anion. The anions that usually give white precipitate are CO3, SO3, and SO4. So we have them, we say inference, SO4 2 minus, SO3 2 minus, or CO3 2 minus is present, not are. It is present. Only one of them is present. How do you know the one that is present? Don't forget your comma here. Don't mix things up as I've been telling you. Now put ACl. You have to add ACl. Don't forget it's always aqueous solution. Everything is solution. You add ACl, aqueous ACl. This one can be in excess. So when you have this one now, if the precipitate dissolves, it means either SO3 2 minus is present or CO3 2 minus. If it does not dissolve, then it is SO4. For the salt that we are carrying out, that I have intention of preparing you for, the precipitate did not dissolve. White precipitate insoluble. You see, precipitate is insoluble. Insoluble, meaning it does not dissolve. So what will now be present here? Then if you observe, if it is CO3, there will be effervescence, a gas supposed to be given off. And if it's that gas will be, of course, CO2 gas. And if it is SO3, SO2 gas will be given off. This one, once you have SO42 minus, there won't be any gas. So we have SO42 minus, see, is present. So that means the salt we are checking now is the anion is SO42 minus. You see, sulfate ion. That is if the precipitate is insoluble. Now the cations we are interested at identifying today has been lead. Then the anion is SO42 minus, which is our cation. We are done with this, with our residue. Now the B part says you should take about 2 cm cube of your filtrate. You know you have filtered it, you have filtrate you have kept somewhere. As I said, keep both the filtrate and the residue. So 2 cm cube, B now 2 cm cube about, just write it as the question says. If they put about, you put, if it's not there, you remove it. So about 2 cm cube of the filtrate plus iodine. It says you should, okay, that you should boil it, plus boiling, boil, plus iodine. You have a dark blue, dark blue. You have dark blue coloration, dark blue coloration. If you have dark blue coloration, what do you think we test? A test that will give us that blue coloration. You should know that starch. It's only starch that used to give us this. So starch is present. Starch is present. So that is what we will use to prepare you for Waec 2026 examination, so that you can pass very well. And you know, if you obtain good grade in practical exam, you have gotten A in that exam, because practical grade used to boost scores of candidates in any examination, whether IGCSE, Waec, or whatever NECO. So now look at how to test for lead, look at how to test for sulfate, look at how you can get your CO2 gas in what I've prepared you for. We wish you the very best of luck in your 2026 chemistry practical exam. Continue to excel. Thanks for being on to Jokchem.Edutech, where you get better understanding in chemistry and all the preparatory classes you need to know as you go higher in chemistry. Thanks for your attention. Thanks for your audience. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like.